Ladies and gentlemen, we just got some brand new information about a potential Valorant console release. Anna Donlan, the executive producer of Valorant, sat down with GameSpot to really elaborate about the Riot development team's plans to bring Valorant to more platforms. On top of that, we have some other information about some cheaters that are actually losing their mind about being hardware banned, so we're going to break all that down in this video. And if you want to make sure that you never miss out on a single bit of Valorant news, smash that sub button. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it, shall we? So ever since Valorant has been in the beta, people have often asked the question, is Valorant going to be coming to console? While console players constantly want this game to be adopted, there are many PC players that don't feel like it's in the game's best interest in the long term in order to adopt it to console due to the lack of perceived competitiveness when it comes to console gaming. Now, this is actually part of exactly why the Riot team is actually not on the entire same page when it comes to whether or not they should bring a console to the game. Anna specifically gave us a lot of insight when talking to GameSpot about what the team is thinking and what are their plans going forward. She said this when asked the question, is the game planning on coming to console soon? Quote, we are definitely prototyping that right now, but there's a way to play this game and there's a way to experience this game that we're not entirely sure translates to a competitive console play. So what Donlan is specifically saying here is they want Valorant to play in a very specific way and they're not entirely sure that the console play will line up to that. That is where the problem lies. They don't want to be bringing the game to console if it's only a shell of its former self. She goes on to expand like this. Quote, if we feel like we can deliver this experience on all platforms, we absolutely will. But we really want Valorant to stand for a certain type of gameplay and a certain type of experience. Essentially, to sum up what Anna is really talking about here is that they want the game to feel exactly like it does from both sides. She talked about in the interview later that she specifically wanted to make sure that the game doesn't feel like it's compromising anything or feels at all different, and there's no discernible advantage when playing with different consoles. This makes me feel like if they did bring it to console, they would most likely make it console cross-platform, but I honestly do not think that they would make it console computer cross-platform simply due to the whole aim assist debacle that has been plaguing Fortnite recently. I would guess that Riot doesn't want to have that anywhere near their game, especially when competitive integrity is such a huge part of the core experience of Valorant. Now, lastly, in the interview, Donlan specifically said, quote, it's not a no for sure, but it definitely wasn't the focus out of the gate, and if we do it, it will definitely be delayed. She's saying that a console version of Valorant is still very much on the table, but it's most likely going to be delayed for a long time. Don't expect to see it right off the bat. Generally, her tonality in the interview seemed pretty positive about the concept of a console game, and she even stated in her interview that this was like a puzzle to crack for the development team, and they liked that kind of thing, so I wouldn't be surprised if the developers tried their hardest to get this to work in the way that they want it to. Now, she did say later on that if they had to break down the game into something so different that it was only a shell of itself in order to make it on console, they said that they would most likely make some other type of game to go on console instead. Some other type of game that they would develop in a similar way that Valorant is, maybe even a side game or something along those lines that would go on console, not the game Valorant itself. Valorant would be like the main game, and whatever this other game would be like just a console exclusive. I'm not entirely sure exactly what that would look like, but it makes sense that if they can't bring the actual game Valorant to the console users, they still want a way to actually monetize console players, so it would be in their best interest to make something for console players at the very least. Now, from my point of view, with Valorant's low graphical quality, it should be an easy port, but I understand that they want a certain level of consistency as a whole, that they really strive to get in the PC game, that if they can't get in the console game, they might just not want to do it altogether. If anything though, it makes sense that the game is not out right now for consoles because most likely this game is actually going to be made for the next generation consoles that are soon to be announced, both the PS5 and whatever the new Xbox is going to be. So that really makes sense to me that they might push Valorant back and have it like as a flagship console release day one for the next generation consoles. Now, before we move on to our next story, I want to know your opinion. Do you think that Valorant should not come to console? Do you think that it's good for the game to have more people playing the game altogether, make the game essentially more popular down the road? Or do you think that something like this would just be impossible and you don't even want to see it at all? I definitely want to hear your take in the comments down below. Now, in other news, cheaters that were cheating in the beta are actually molding, losing their mind about being HWID banned, which is a hardware identification ban, or just hardware ban for short. They incorrectly assumed that they could run amok in beta, and suddenly all things would be forgiven in the full game. Now, there are tons of Discord messages about this, people just losing their minds about, I didn't know I was going to be banned, I didn't know I was going to be permanently banned, but from where I'm sitting, this is an amazing thing. Riot has shown that they do not mess around with cheaters, and they have a no forgiveness policy. It's not you cheat and you can become reformed later, it's you cheat and you never play the game again, and I love this philosophy personally as someone who takes competitive games extremely seriously. This was a message straight from a cheater to the Riot Games CEO. Essentially, to sum it up, he said that he tried out a free cheat and he thought he'd get a second chance to learn his lesson, but the second he opened up his new account, he instantly got banned. He asked this question, anyways, this is a mistake or you guys just didn't lift bans? The CEO of Riot, Nicolo, responded, sorry, no second chances for cheaters. Well, you heard it from the man himself. There is a no forgiveness policy on cheaters. Now, everyone knows that Riot stands on this matter, and in my opinion, this is great. This is fantastic, but I also want to know your opinion. Do you think that people should be given a chance maybe after a year or two or some period of time, especially if they only cheated in the beta, to actually potentially get to play the game again? Or do you think that they should just be banned forever like I do and that they should never get a chance? Definitely let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, if you like Valorant news, Valorant content, or if you want to improve your Valorant, smash that sub button. But that's all we got for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time,